The shocking chaos that unfolded on SmackDown tonight left the entire WWE universe speechless. For weeks, the mysterious backstage attacks had cast a shadow over the blue brand. Everybody wanted to know who was behind the brutal assault that left Jacob Fatu down and out weeks ago. The rumors ran wild, the speculations grew intense, and even the locker room was divided. But tonight, the truth was finally revealed, and it wasn't just any name. It was Bron Breakker. The night began with a tense atmosphere. SmackDown opened with clips from previous weeks showing the unexplained ambush on Jacob Fatu, the cameras capturing only fragments, a pair of boots, a blurred figure, a sudden crash of steel, and Jacob lying unconscious beside shattered crates. Fatu had been taken to the hospital, sidelined for weeks, while members of the Bloodline and WWE management launched their own investigations. Many fingers were pointed, but no one expected the revelation that was coming. As SmackDown progressed, tension filled the locker room. Paul Heyman was seen pacing in the hallway, whispering frantically on the phone, likely updating Solo Sikoa about the latest rumors spreading around the arena. The Bloodline's camp was in disarray. They believed someone had intentionally tried to weaken their family power from within WWE. Every week that Jacob remained off TV, questions multiplied. Who wanted to take him out so badly? Was it a rival faction? A jealous superstar? Or someone seeking to make a name for themselves? Midway through the night, WWE's official cameras caught sight of Jacob Fatu arriving at the arena for the first time since the attack. The crowd erupted when they saw him. His face was filled with raw intensity, his expression unreadable. He moved with purpose, determined, angry, and focused. Fatu had been waiting for this night. He was cleared to return, and he wanted answers. He wasn't just here to compete, he was here to confront whoever had blindsided him. Backstage officials tried to keep things calm, but the energy was electric. Everyone could feel that something major was about to explode. Fatu entered the Bloodline's private locker room, where Heyman stood waiting, his usual confidence replaced by unease. Cameras captured Heyman's nervous glances and muttered words about not letting things escalate, but Jacob wasn't listening. He wanted to see the security footage WWE had supposedly recovered. He wanted the truth, not promises or theories. Later in the night, a segment was announced, the reveal of the backstage attacker. WWE security had pieced together hidden camera footage and surveillance angles never shown to the public before. The segment was set to air near the end of SmackDown. The audience buzzed with anticipation. The locker room gathered near the monitors. Everyone wanted to see the face behind the chaos. As the show returned from commercial break, the arena darkened. On the Titantron, a warning flashed, exclusive security footage, do not leave your seats. The footage rolled, grainy and unsettling. It showed the hallway from weeks ago, Jacob Fatu walking toward his locker room, nodding at staff. Then, out of nowhere, a shadow moved behind him. The camera cut to another angle, a muscular figure in a black hoodie approaching fast. The man struck Fatu with a steel pipe, dropping him instantly. The camera zoomed in on the attacker's face as the hood slipped off for a split second, revealing Bron Breakker. The arena erupted. Shockwaves rippled through the crowd. Gasps, boos, and disbelief filled the air. The commentators were stunned silent for a moment before their voices broke the tension, trying to make sense of what everyone had just witnessed. Bron Breakker, the same man who had recently aligned himself with Paul Heyman's vision, was the one behind the attack that sidelined Jacob Fatu. The betrayal was beyond comprehension. Backstage, chaos erupted. Superstars rushed toward the gorilla position, while security scrambled to locate Breakker. Cameras caught him watching the footage from his locker room with a cold smirk. He didn't look shocked or regretful, he looked proud. The truth was out, and he wasn't hiding anymore. His confidence was unnerving, a reflection of someone who knew exactly what he had done and why. Moments later, Jacob Fatu stormed through the halls, fury in his eyes. He was unstoppable. The entire Bloodline tried to hold him back, but he shoved past everyone, heading straight for Breakker's locker room. The crowd roared as cameras followed the carnage. Officials tried to prevent a confrontation, but Fatu kicked the door open. The two men locked eyes, one filled with vengeance, the other with arrogant defiance. Security swarmed in before they could collide, but the tension was unbearable. Breaker taunted Fatu, smirking as he mouthed words the camera barely caught, "Welcome back." It was clear now that this wasn't a random assault. It was personal. Bron Breaker had targeted Jacob Fatu intentionally, and the motive ran deeper than anyone expected. Back in the ring, Paul Heyman walked out, his face pale. The crowd booed relentlessly as he tried to explain. His voice trembled as he insisted he had no knowledge of Breaker's actions, but few believed him. The crowd sensed there was more to this story, that Heyman had known all along. The vision had been growing in influence, with Breaker, Bronson Reed, and other rising stars under Heyman's manipulation. But now, with this revelation, that group's legitimacy was shattered. The Bloodline's fury was coming. As the cameras returned backstage, Breaker was seen being escorted by security for his own safety. He refused to look intimidated. In fact, he told the cameras that Jacob Fatu's return changed nothing. His mission, he said, had already begun the moment he made that attack weeks ago. He called it a statement. That statement sent a clear message. Bron Breaker wanted to prove he was the most dominant force in WWE, and he didn't need permission from anyone, not even Paul Heyman, to make that known. As news of the reveal spread, the WWE universe exploded online. Social media went wild with reactions, theories, and shock. Fans were divided, some applauded Breaker's ruthlessness, calling it the mark of a future champion, while others condemned him for crossing the line. Hashtags like #BronBreakerExposed and #Justice for Jacob Fatu trended within minutes. The controversy ignited a firestorm that WWE could no longer contain. Triple H was shown backstage, visibly furious. Reports later indicated that he confronted Heyman privately, demanding answers about how long he had known. The tension between WWE management and Heyman's vision reached an all-time high. The story was no longer just about an attack, it was about control, power, and betrayal at the heart of SmackDown. By the final moments of the show, the chaos reached its breaking point. Fatu managed to break free from officials and found Breaker again in the parking lot. This time, cameras caught the full confrontation. Breaker threw the first punch, but Fatu countered, slamming him into a car door. The two brawled viciously, their rage echoing through the lot. Officials, referees, and even wrestlers rushed to pull them apart. Cars shook, glass shattered, and the fight spilled into the cold night air. It wasn't a wrestling match, it was a war. SmackDown went off the air with security dragging both men apart, sirens wailing in the distance, and Paul Heyman screaming at officials to stop the madness. But the damage was already done. The truth was out, and there was no going back. Bron Breakker had revealed himself as the man who attacked Jacob Fatu. The motive, however, was still unclear, and that's what made it even more terrifying. The aftermath of this revelation rippled far beyond SmackDown. The Bloodline declared that they were out for revenge. Solo Sikoa reportedly called for family justice, demanding that Breakker face the consequences in the ring. Meanwhile, Heyman's influence within WWE was questioned. How much did he really know? Was Breakker acting on his own, or was this part of a calculated plan by the Vision to dismantle the Bloodline piece by piece? Behind the scenes, it was revealed that Bron Breakker had been growing increasingly frustrated with the attention the Bloodline was receiving. Despite Breakker's dominance and raw power, much of the spotlight remained on Roman Reigns, Solo, and Fatu. Breakker believed that to be recognized as the top predator in WWE, he needed to make a move so shocking that no one could ignore him again. That was why he targeted Jacob Fatu, a man who embodied everything Breakker despised: loyalty, heritage, and respect for tradition. To Breakker, those were signs of weakness. He wanted to destroy the myth of family unity and replace it with his own brand of chaos. In the following days, WWE released a statement confirming that both men had been fined for their violent backstage altercation, but neither was suspended. Instead, they were set to meet face-to-face in the ring the following week on SmackDown. The entire locker room was on edge. The atmosphere heading into that episode felt dangerous. Everyone knew that when Fatu and Breakker finally stood in the same ring, it wouldn't be a wrestling contest, it would be a demolition. When that showdown finally came, the tension was explosive. Fatu entered first, eyes locked forward, his usual swagger replaced by silent fury. Breakker followed, walking with that same unshakable confidence. They didn't wait for the bell. The moment they were within reach, fists flew. The ring barely contained them. Each strike was a message, each slam a release of weeks of pent-up rage. The audience roared as officials tried repeatedly to break them apart, but neither man backed down. The show went off the air once again in utter chaos. Fatu standing tall as Breakker rolled out of the ring, smiling through the pain. In the weeks that followed, WWE built the rivalry into one of its most personal feuds of the year. Breakker's reasoning became clearer. In an exclusive sit-down interview, he explained that attacking Fatu wasn't just about power, it was about eliminating distractions. The bloodline represents the past, he said coldly. I represent the future. I attacked him because I could. Because I wanted to prove that I don't wait for opportunity, I take it. His words sent chills through fans, solidifying his role as WWE's most dangerous man. Jacob Fatu's response was just as powerful. He promised to make Breakker feel the same pain he caused, tenfold. The storyline blurred the line between fiction and reality, as both men carried real intensity that translated into one of WWE's most talked-about rivalries. Every segment, every promo, every confrontation dripped with real emotion, revenge, pride, and the thirst for dominance. By the time their inevitable pay-per-view match was announced, the hype was unlike anything WWE had seen in years. It wasn't just about competition anymore, it was personal vengeance. The official contract signing ended in another brawl, breaking through tables and barricades. Security barely managed to contain them. The energy surrounding this feud became the talk of the entire wrestling world. Even as the story continued, one thing was clear: the night Bron Breakker was revealed as Jacob Fatu's attacker would go down in history. It changed SmackDown forever. It reshaped alliances, shattered trust, and redefined the power balance in WWE. The bloodline had been wounded, but they were far from broken. And Bron Breakker had solidified himself not just as a top name, but as the man who would stop at nothing to carve his legacy through destruction. The reveal didn't just unmask an attacker. It exposed the deeper war brewing beneath WWE's surface. A war between generations, between chaos and legacy, between power and pride. And as the cameras faded that night, one thing was certain: SmackDown would never be the same again.